So rule 13, or overtaking. So in these rules, in this rule, there are two categories. Either you are the giveaway vessel or stand-on vessel. So let us just first talk about the giveaway vessel. So in the giveaway vessel, if you are the one who will be overtaking the other vessel, you need to um, be inside on the 22 point and a half degrees on the other vessel's above her beam. Now, uh, with that being said, let us just talk about the um, stand-on vessel. So the stand-on vessels has nothing to do with this, but to stand with his course. Now, for example, if the ship is approaching through the starboard side of the other ship, and the other vessel is inside of the 22 and a half degrees of her above beam. So, the other vessel should alter her course to the starboard side to not impede the other other vessels um, passageway. So, for example, um, another example, the other vessel is now located or approaching on the port side of the other ship, and she is also inside on the 22 and a half degrees, and what she needs to do is to alter her course to port side. So, and I think that will be all for this rule. So let us move on to the other rules. So rule 14, or head-on situation. Now in this rule, if the two vessels are meeting on the reciprocal or nearly reciprocal course, um, just like for example, um, if the other vessel is going to the north and the other vessel is going to the south. Now, to take an action, they need to determine first if the risk of collision exists. Now, if they are already determined that the risk of collision exists, they need to take an action by altering their vessels to the starboard side. So the risk of collision can be prevented by that action. And I think that will be all for the rule number 14. Now, let's move on to the rule number 15. Rule 15. Crossing situation. When two power-driven vessels are crossing so as to involve risk of collision, the vessels which has the other on her own standard side shall keep out of the way and shall, if the circumstances of the case admit, avoid crossing ahead of the other vessel. So on the rule 15, or crossing situation, what we need to remember and apply is we cannot cross ahead of the other vessel. So just like for example, the other vessel is located on our starboard side. So what actions should we take? So the action that we could take is make a bow alteration and go to astern of the other vessel so we can make a freeway. And so what if the other vessel is located on our port side? So what we can do is do nothing, but the other vessel needs to do the same way as our ship is located on our starboard side. Now on this situation, the other vessel is our vessel is located on their starboard side, so they are the one who needs to take actions. And now after the rule 15, we can move to the rule 16 and discuss it. Rule number 16. Action by giveaway vessel. Every vessel which is directed to keep out of the way of another vessel shall, so far as possible, take early and substantial action to keep well clear. So rule number 16, or action by giveaway vessel. So what we need to remember here is to take an early and substantial actions to avoid unexpected situations like collision. So after the rule number 16, we can now move to the last one, which is the rule 17, or action by stand on vessel. Rule 17, action by stand on vessel. Paragraph number 1. Where one of two vessels is to keep out of the way, the other shall keep up her course and speed. Paragraph number 2. The latter vessel may, however, take action to avoid collision by her maneuver alone, as soon as it becomes apparent to her that the vessel required to keep out of the way is not taking appropriate action in compliance with these rules. Paragraph number 3. When from any cause the vessel required to keep her course and speed finds herself so close that collision cannot be avoided by action of the giveaway vessel alone, she shall take such action as will best aid to avoid collision. Paragraph number 4. A power-driven vessel which takes action in crossing situation in accordance with subparagraph of this rule to avoid collision with another power-driven vessel shall, if the circumstances of the case admit, not alter course to port for a vessel on her own port side. Paragraph number 5. This rule does not relieve the giveaway vessel of her obligation to keep out of the way. Now, let us talk about the rule 17, or action by stand on vessel. Let us just imagine that we are having a crossing situation again, and our vessel should stand on our course and speed and wait for the other vessel to take action. However, in the other side, if the other vessel did not take early action, it is now time for our vessel to take action by maneuvering by myself alone to just avoid collision. This rule applies to vessels not in sight of one another when navigating in or near an area of restricted visibility. Every vessel shall proceed at a safe speed adapted to the prevailing circumstances and conditions of restricted visibility. A power-driven vessel shall have her engines ready for immediate maneuver. Every vessel shall have due regard to the prevailing circumstances and conditions of restricted visibility when complying with the rule of Section 1 of this part. A vessel which detects by radar alone the presence of another vessel shall determine if a close quarter situation is developing and/or risk of collision exists. If so, she shall take avoiding action in ample time, provided that when such action consists of an alteration of course, so far as possible, the following shall be avoided. So with that being said, if our radar detects the presence of another vessel and developing the close quarter situation, and if the risk of collision may exist, so what we must do in this situation is we could apply the two actions that being stated in this rule, which are the number 1, an alteration of course to port for a vessel forward of the beam, other than for a vessel being overtaken. Paragraph number 2, an alteration of course towards a vessel abeam or above the beam. So those are the two actions that we must execute to avoid a close quarter situation or risk of collision. So now, let's move on to the paragraph E. Paragraph E. Except where it has been determined that a risk of collision does not exist, every vessel which hears apparently forward of her beam the fog signal of another vessel, or which cannot avoid a close quarter situation with another vessel forward to her beam, shall reduce her speed to the minimum at which she can be kept on her course. She shall, if necessary, take all her way up, and in any event navigate with extreme caution until danger of collision is over. So on this part, if the close quarter situation is now developing, the actions that we could do to avoid this situation is to reduce our speed but keep on our course. And if necessary, we could stop our vessel and wait until the danger of collision is over. So we are here now on the part C of collision regulation, which is the lights and shape. So rule number 20, or um, application. So what we need to take note or understand with this rule is that all vessels is required to comply with this rule. And of course, during by daytime, what we need to display is only the shape from sunrise to sunset. And however, we need in at night, we need to do the opposite, which is the uh, sunset to sunrise. And what we need to display in that case, or in restricted visibility, is the lights. And I think that will be all for the rule number 20. So let's move on to the rule number 21. So rule 21, or definitions. I think in this rule, all technical use of the lights are being defined. So without being said, let's move on to the paragraph A. So masted lights means a white light placed over the fore and aft center line of the vessel, an unbroken light over an arc of the horizon of 225 degrees, and so fixed as to show the light from right ahead of 22.5 degrees above the beam on either side of the vessel. So paragraph B, side lights means a green light on the starboard side and a red light on the port side, each showing an unbroken light over an arc of the horizon of 112.5 degrees, and so fixed as to show the light from right head to 22.5 degrees above the beam on its respective side. In a vessel of less than 20 meters in length, the side lights may be combined in one lantern carried on the fore and aft center line of the vessel. So paragraph C, stern light means a white light placed as nearly as practicable at the stern, showing an unbroken light over an arc of the horizon of 135 degrees, and so fixed as to show the light 67.5 degrees from right up on each side of the vessel. So paragraph D, towing light means a yellow light having the same characteristics as the stern light defined in paragraph C of this rule. So paragraph E, flashing lights means a light showing an unbroken light over an arc of the horizon of 360 degrees. So paragraph F, flashing light means a light flashing at regular intervals at a frequency of 120 flashing or more per minute. So I think that will be all for the rule number 21, or definitions. Or So rule number 22, or visibility of lights. Now in this rule, the minimum visibility, the, the minimum ranges of visibility of lights are being shown in this rule. However, it depends on the um, size of the vessel. Now, without further ado, let's start with the paragraph A. So in vessels of 50 meters or more in length, a masted light should be visible on the minimum of 6 miles. A side light should be minimum at 3 miles. A stern light should be minimum at 3 miles. A towing lights has a minimum of 3 miles. A white, red, green, or yellow all-round lights should be visible at 3 miles. Now, after the paragraph A, let's move on to the paragraph B. Now, in vessels of 12 meters or more in length but less than 50 meters in length, a masted light 5 miles, except that where the length of the vessel is less than 20 meters or visible at 3 miles. A side light should be visible at minimum of 2 miles. A stern light should be minimum at 2 miles. A towing light should be visible at 2 miles. A white, red, green, or yellow all-round light should be minimum at 2 miles. So, paragraph number C. In vessels of less than 12 meters in length, should do the following. A masted light should be visible in minimum of 2 miles. A side light should be visible at minimum of 1 mile. A stern light should be visible at minimum of 2 miles. A towing light should be visible at minimum of 2 miles. A white, red, green, or yellow all-round light should be visible at minimum of 2 miles. So I think that will be all for the rule number 22, or the visibility of lights. So rule number 23, or power-driven vessels underway. So the meaning of power-driven vessel is basically being propelled by machinery itself. Now, without further ado, let's start with the paragraph A. A power-driven vessel underway shall exhibit a masted light forward. So, if our vessel is 50 meters or more than 50 meters in length, we need to at night, of course, we need to display the um, masted light and the second masted light above and the side lights. So, the color of lights in the side lights is green for the starboard side and red for the port side. But however, if our vessel is less than 50 meters in length, we are not obliged to exhibit this the lights and shape prescribed in this rule, but we may do so. So I think that will be all for this rule. So let's move on to the rule number 24. So rule number 24, or towing and pushing. Now in this rule, the lights that is prescribed in this rule is exclusive for the towing vessel. So if the towing vessel exceeds 200 meters from the stern of the towing vessels up to the end of the towing vessel. Now, what we need to display, or what we are going to display if the vessel is engaged in towing and pushing, is that two uh, masted lights in a vertical line and side lights and stern lights. Now, when a pushing vessel and a vessel being pushed ahead are rigidly connected, what we are going to display in this situation is also prescribed in the rule number 23. So, if our vessel is more than 50 meters in length, what we are going to display is the two masted lights in a vertical line, and side lights, and lastly the stern lights. However, if our vessel not exceeds 50 meters or more in length, what we are going to display is the masted lights and the side lights, and of course the stern light. I think that will be all for the rule number 24. So rule number 25, or sailing vessels underway and vessels under oars. So without further ado, let's start with the paragraph A. So a sailing vessel underway shall exhibit the um, side lights and the astern lights. However, on the paragraph B, we can combine these lights to a lantern way if our vessel is less than 20 meters in length. And now, if our vessel is less than 7 meters in length, we can use our electric torch or flashlights and aim it to the sky, and not directly on the other vessels, directly to the bridge, so we cannot damage the night vision of the uh, lookout officers. So, and the reason why we do that is to avoid collision. And I think that will be all for the rule number 25. So without further ado, let's start with the rule 26. So on this rule, if our vessel is engaged in fishing, whether it is underway or at anchor, the only thing that we should do or we shall exhibit here is the shape and the lights that is prescribed in this rule. So with that being said, if our vessel is also involved or engaged in trolling, like we are dragging dredge net underwater, or any other apparatus or appliances that is related in fishing, must exhibit this. Turn on all two round lights in a vertical line, and green light over the white light. And if we are having a situation like a vessel is less than 50 meters in length, we should not exhibit the following, but we may do so. So if our vessel is underway, we must turn on all side lights and astern light. However, on the other hand, if our vessel is not engaged in fishing or involved in fishing, we are not obliged to exhibit these lights and shapes that is prescribed in this rule. So on this rule, or vessel not under command or restricted inability to maneuver. So paragraph A, it says that a vessel not under command shall exhibit this. Turn on all two round lights in a vertical line where they can best be seen. So in a daylight, we need to exhibit two balls. And of course, when we are making way through the water, we need or we shall exhibit the uh, side lights and astern lights. So on this paragraph, where the vessel is restricted in her ability to maneuver, it says that we need to exhibit the three all-round lights where the best they can be seen. So in the night, we need to exhibit, or we shall exhibit, the red, white, red. But however, in daylight, we need to exhibit the ball, diamond ball. And of course, when making our way through the water, we need to exhibit, or we shall exhibit, the masted light. And if we are greater than 50 meters in length, we need to turn on two lights, and of course the side lights and a stern light. So if we are going to talk about this paragraph, or the paragraph C, where the vessel is engaged in towing. So the lights in shape that we must exhibit here, or we shall exhibit here, is also prescribed in the paragraph B, or the red, white, red, or the ball, diamond ball in the daytime. So on this paragraph D, the power vessel is involved or engaged in dredging or underwater operation. The lights and shapes that we are going to exhibit, or we shall exhibit here, is also prescribed on the paragraph B. And of course, in addition to that, when an obstruction exists, we shall exhibit the two all-round red lights in a vertical line, or we should exhibit the two balls in a daytime, to indicate the side on which the obstruction exists. And of course, two all green right, uh, or two diamonds in daytime, so to indicate the side on which the other vessel may pass. Now, on this paragraph, whenever the size of a vessel engaged in diving, it makes it impracticable to exhibit those lights and shape that is prescribed in the paragraph D. Now, what we shall exhibit here is to do the following. Uh, Three all-round lights in a vertical line where they can best be seen. The highest and lowest of these lights shall be red, and the middle light shall be white. A rigid replica of the international code flag, A not less than 1 meter in height, measures shall be taken to ensure its all-round visibility. So on this rule, or vessels constrained by their growth, what we should exhibit, or what we shall exhibit here, is also prescribed in the rule 23, which is the lights and shapes. And if our vessel is 50 meters in length, we need to turn on the forward masted lights, and of course the above masted lights, and the also the side lights and astern lights. And in addition to that, the three all-round red lights, or in the daytime, it should be a cylinder. So rule 29. So in this rule, or pilot vessels, if our vessel is engaged in pilotage duty, what we shall going to exhibit here is to turn on the white over red lights on the masted lights. And if we are underway, of course, the side lights and astern lights. So on this rule, or vessels anchored and vessels aground, is it says that if the vessels is 50 meters in length, we need to exhibit, or we shall exhibit, the two all-round white lights, forward and about masted lights. And if the case that if our vessels is less than 50 meters in length, what we shall exhibit here is one masted lights, or white all-round lights. And in addition, if the vessels is aground, we need, or we shall exhibit, the two all-round white lights in forward and above. And of course, the two all-round red lights in a vertical line where they can best be seen. And I think that would be all for now, and thank you and God bless.